So let's just start off talking about the Akashic field, if we could, just to level set with people who are new, who might be, watching this, and you had, this beautiful integration of science and mysticism in this field of everything. And so, if you could would you mind by starting off in a few words about how you feel that the Akashic field relates to intuition, and can you access it intuitively?
Okay, well, the Akashic field is a memory field. Now, I think myself that the verbalized and verbalizable part of our experience of the field is only a very small portion, and it comes later. What comes originally to us is the raw data, as it were, which is a feeling data. I like to use the word feeling by Alfred North Whitehead. A feeling is what they call apprehension. It's how we grasp the world around us. So it's not verbal. Verbal comes much later, and not everything, obviously, just a very small part. We intuit the field. We intuit the universe, our connection to the universe. The main idea, the principal idea, is that we are connected through a field, an information and quantum field. We know in quantum science, quantum physics, that things are intimately and directly connected. So what happens to one also happens in some way happens to others. And the way it happens to others, the way it happens to us, is by intuiting what happens to others. Because I use this term intuition instead of using perceive it. Its perception is a much later, much more explicit form. So I think our connection with each other is intuitive. Our connection to each other and to the world at large. And then some small part of this we can focus on consciously, and we can try to verbalize it and think about it in its conscious verbal way. But we can be conscious of our intuitions in non-verbal ways as well, having a feeling, a hunch, and well, I was going to say an intuition, but that's what you're talking about.
Insight, right? That's another word I use, right? Like insight. It comes
insight,
in,
a
right?
direct insight. Yeah, I'm sure. I like that. I talk about insight. Yeah, that's what comes to us spontaneously. So I think I agree with Einstein, who talked about intuition as being more important than rationality.
Yes.
I think this is the basis. If we can pick up some of that and become aware of it, then we can perhaps use it, because we need to be aware of our connections to each other and to the universe. So this is an important element to make our intuition conscious. But to be aware of that we have intuition, first of all, is not to dismiss it, not to say that this is only nonsense and fantasy, but to think that what we perceive the world around us as an intuitive oneness, as an intuitive global sense of there is something larger than we are, to which we are connected, or of which we are a part, and everything else comes later.
Well, and I couldn't agree more with everything you said. You are a man after my own heart. This is so exciting to me to hear you say this stuff and to have real scientific evidence and background of intuition, and how it is something that's not as really ephemeral as people think it is. It's really a natural part of our thinking process, right? It's just sort of using the other part of our brain that's we've sort of forgotten how to use. So I love that you brought in Einstein, because I think that intuition is really tied in with genius and creativity. And that brings me to a question about you, because I saw you playing the piano. I saw, there's words that people often use to describe you, which is genius and child prodigy. And I'm curious, with your own experiences when growing up and having that connection, do you think that your talent was part of that connection to the field, like a natural connection, that you were able to have that sort of flow and intuitive ability to do things that are extraordinary?
I felt the music. I feel that if it's a good music, it's typical. Some the great composers, typically Mozart, Brahms, Beethoven, Haydn, Schubert. I mean, these are my favorites, and they communicate. They want to tell us something. They have something in mind, and it's wonderful. And with Mozart, it's particularly light. In Schubert also, it's particularly light and joyful, and they're playing around with it, And when I hear that music, I sense that there is something being sent to me, the world is being opening up in some ways. And so I intuit, then it it seems to me that the great music is the way it is, couldn't be any other way, and it's natural like that. I felt as a child, I'm talking through the piano. It's as natural. It was more natural to me than talking. I was never very good at chatting. You know, I'm not very good. I don't have any small talk practically still. And I can try to verbalize things if I'm thinking there's something important. But otherwise, I am happy and satisfied to intuit, to prehend the world. That's also a good word by Whitehead, to prehend, to pick up, to gather to ourselves the rest of the world in a non pre-rational, pre-verbal form.
Yeah, almost like it's a language of itself that you're tapping into, right? And I love we're talking about, accessing this language and this flow. And I think one of the things that I found out is that, to be able to do that, we really have to get our like overthinking, critical, logical mind out of the way. And children can do that naturally often, right? When we get into meditative states, we can do that. So one of the questions I was having as I was reading your book, was about, getting into that place where we're in deeper connection with that deep dimension. I love that term that you use too, that deep dimension. So in terms of vibration and frequency and amplitude, talk about
the whole idea of resonance, resonance. We resonate with the field, and it comes in various forms. And the deepest form is this direct apprehension of it, which is intuition. But the fact is that we have to be open to the field, open to pick up that information. But the best analogy for that in physics is resonance. When the tuning forks, for example, one together, one is hit and provides a sound, then the others start to begin to tune into it. People start tuning to each other, etc. So resonating with each other. So I think the immediate, initial and intuitive form of our communication, of our contact with the world, is through resonance.
That's a word that I use a lot too. I agree. It's that feeling connection, right? That resonant feeling that we have. Sort of like, I feel like with intuition, you can sort of have the knowingness where you know things and you sort of have that inner process of insight and awareness, but there's also that resonance. So it's kind of a knowing feeling when your mind and so to speak, your heart.
And it's so important because what we have lost is our connection. We have lost it and disregarding the fact that we are connected, and we are ignoring what the message is. And the message comes to us in a deep form as a feeling. Reconnecting to the world, I think that is so important today because we have forgotten it. We have went off onto artificial, synthetic ways that are creating unsustainable situations in the world. So returning to the source, returning to the cosmos, to the universe as a whole, to nature, is an intuitive process. It can help. Intuition can help. It can conduct it, can launch us in that direction. So I think it's extremely important today.
I couldn't agree more. And I love, you wrote the book, The Dawn of the Akashic Age. And that aligns with something I was talking about in my last book, Radical Intuition, was this idea of an intuition revolution. Because I also work in technology and I realized that, intuition wasn't just this personal thing. It was something that affects our culture and innovation and the way that we live. And one of the things I heard when people were talking in tech is like, oh, the information age has to come to an end. It's time for the imagination age, the creativity age, the intuition age. And it lines right up with what you're saying to me about this Akashic age, where we have to reconnect to that lost part of ourselves and each other, right? That we can find through the field.
Absolutely, yes. So I think it's an extremely important faculty that we have, which is the basis for natural knowledge, for understanding music, understanding art, poetry, everything that is a human expression of how we feel, trying to understand and deal with that. It's to give credence to our faculty of perceiving the world in an intuitive form.
Yeah, I agree. It's just so important. It's such an important shift and such a timely shift with, and we actually have to do it now almost. Like if we don't do this, like, we're going to lose ourselves going out into being so lost in our minds, right?
Yes. And we are getting off an unsustainable direction where we are risking, really, not risking what Bruce Lipton called the sixth mass extinction.
Mm.
I mean, that could be a very quick process. We are already on the way toward by having made extinct a majority of the great majority of the higher mammalian species, more complex species. So altogether, to get back to the embrace of nature and to evolution in the universe, to align with it, we have to use our intuition as a guide.
I agree 100%. So that brings up like an interesting question that just popped in my mind about. So, we hear, you look into the ancient scriptures and texts, and there's prophecies, about the future. And we've probably all of us have had to some degree experiences where we've had thoughts about things and maybe they happened in the future. And this idea of sort of, there's no such thing as time, really. We're living in a world where everything happens all at once, right? And it's sort of this everythingness, and that actually makes sense why there are things like precognition and even remote viewing, because all
our connection with each other and with the world is non-local. That's how you can simplest expression.
Yes, exactly.
It's not limited in time and in space.
So how does that play into things like potentiality and free will and choice, right? So that's a question that someone asked me, and I thought might be a good question for the expert.
Well, I don't know. There's an expert in this field that's trying to make sense of what there is. Free will, free will. I don't think there is absolute free will. There is more informed action and less informed action, or totally ignorant action. We are embedded. And if we are informed, doesn't mean that we are obliged to act in a certain way. This is not a deterministic universe. It's a permissive universe. It allows for choice. So there is no free will in the sense of ab nihilo, from nothing. We are not basing our experience on nothing. We are basing on our intuition of what there is. But then the choice of what we do with that is to some extent is ours. We're not totally free, obviously, because we have to maintain our coherence as a body and also as a mind, as a psyche, as a consciousness. But within that, there is a lot of playroom still in being able to choose what of this information that we intuit, what of our data, not information, is the data, you might say, of our intuition, how we make use of that, how we decide to act in light of what we intuit.
Beautiful. Yeah. So it's kind of like that co-creation, right? That we're working within the framework of saying, but we're co-creating this reality with.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Reality is there. I mean, I careful using that term. Of course, we are co-creating the world as we perceive it, as it presents itself to us,
Right.
But I'm sufficiently realist, like Einstein was. So it's not everything is just in our mind. I think there is a world out there, and we are part of it, and we are trying to understand it. And intuition is a large preliminary part of our understanding. That's how it starts.
So let's use that. Let's talk about this idea of the holographic universe and how that plays in with our experience of the world and intuition. And it's like a little bit like we're in a simulation, but not like it's all in our mind. Is there is there anything that you could tell us about this idea of the holographic universe and intuition?
Well, in a hologram, everything is given in every part. Information or the data or whatever we call it is given in every part of the hologram of the whole thing, so that everything is contained in every part. And that we know by making artificial holograms. So the holographic universe is simply an interconnected universe based on a field, on a memory field, where everything enters into that field. We can pick up things from that field within limits, of course. and so everything is not only connected, but everything is memorized, is enduring. There is nothing totally evanescent in this universe. I mean, nothing disappears completely. So in the holographic universe, is still, all things are connected, all things are conserved. And out of this universe, out of this Akashic universe, we are picking up, behending elements of it. And we are trying to connect with it. And if we don't ignore our immediate intuitive connection with it, then we'll do a better job and we're more likely to connect with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that age-old thing we talk about, our inner wisdom, right? We've heard that term for so long, our inner wisdom. But now we actually understand that that's a real thing, through the hologram, we have access to all of that information because all of it's embedded in a way within us, right?
Yes,
So,
absolutely. And it's absolutely crucially important today.
Indeed.
For human survival. So.
It is. I couldn't agree with you more. That's why I talk with people about them, like, this is so important. I have such an important job sharing this message of intuition, and people sometimes look at me because so many people still don't get it, right? There's not, I'm trying to raise awareness of it as something that's really something valuable and intrinsic to everyone, It's
a very good argument in your hand would be if you look at some of the scientific theories of which are the most important basic fundamental science. You'll find the origins of those ideas also in spiritual domain, because they have been intuited. It's an intuitive basis. Quantum physics, the new biology, the new psychology, all this as elaborating our primordial intuition of the world. That's what they're doing.
So we're rediscovering this, right? So quantum physics is rediscovering and sort of creating a sort of scientific explanation for things that we knew millennia ago, that it was part of the ancient wisdom.
Yes. There is nothing new. That is, if it's real in the world, that is not new. Then we have known it. But on what level we have known it, that's the question. On the purely intuitive level, does it stay there? Or can we also become conscious of some elements of it?
Yeah, and in terms of, I love that, in terms of creating our reality in this world that we're living in. So, we have intuition and we can access the truth really is within us, that all of everything, the memory, all of everything, the solid is within us, right? And then the world around us, how, in terms of, one of the things that we talk about is waves and particle and the collapse of the wave through the observer effect. And when we do that, is that how we can intuitively create the world around us through decision making, through interaction, and we do that through the collapse of the wave? Or how is all of that sort of
Well, there's various theories that are explaining the fact. Maybe we are not just connected through messages like in like different waves. We are connected intrinsically. This is a coherent non-local universe. So it's a different mindset it requires. You can explain it in terms of collapse waves and propagating, which is subject to time and space limitations. So, but there's various ways of trying to verbalize, trying to explain, make ourselves conscious and rationally conscious of some of these elements. But intuitively, we can grasp the fact that we are one. When we say we are one and the universe is whole and the universe is non-local, then we come closer to the idea of what there is and how we relate to what there is, how we are part of what there is. So these are very, very spiritual terms, you might say, but they are the basis of the new science, and they are, I think, they're fundamental. Well, I'm saying that we are curing the symptoms of our problems when we attack only the obvious malfunctions. We have to look at what there is, what went wrong, and how we can put it right. And that means our mindset, our consciousness, the way we relate to the world. By relating purely on a rational level, we are ignoring a very large part of our relationship, of our contact. So getting deeper down is getting closer to what there is, getting closer to the real nature of the universe, which is an informed holographic oneness universe. Okay, know it as a matter of spiritual truth. That's fine, but allow it to penetrate so that this spiritual truth, the spiritual insight, can really shape one's actions, shape one's mind. So I look forward to books like yours who make that clearer and most understandable and acceptable for people.
Beautiful, wonderful. Well, and I look forward to reading it and all the future books. Thank you so much.